2022 was a great year for Arknights. So many great events, and of course, the anime adaptation that was released back in October. However, I want to focus on one thing that was released at the end of December, which is a new game mode that changed the way we manage our operators to some degree. This new game mode is Stationary Security Service, which is a permanent game mode that allows you to farm upgrade materials for operator modules. Each operator module can now be upgraded to level 3, further improving their skills. The mechanic is more complex than your average Arknights gameplay and resembles more of a card game. I've been playing this game mode for over a week and I have a few things to say about it. I mainly want to focus on the two problems that I found in this game mode that sprung up some hate from the players. But first, how does SSS work? I'm not gonna bore you by detailing how this mode works because the game does a pretty good job explaining it, but I will just explain the core mechanics of SSS. You start by building a team of 14 operators, including a support operator, and these will become your initial startup team. The main idea of SSS is that during battle, you stack up the operator's buff by stacking them on top of another operator. For every 2 floors cleared, you are given 2 operators to pick from, and this is where the RNG comes in. The operator pool presented to you will depend if you pick the preferred plan or the free plan, which I will explain later. As you progress through all the 8 floors, they will get increasingly harder, and each individual floors also gets progressively harder the longer the battle lasts. At the end, if you feel like you can't take it anymore, you can complete the mission and collect your rewards. That is the quick rundown of the mechanics of SSS. To put it simply, it's a glorified card game with an Arknights twist. As I mentioned in the beginning, there are 2 main strategies that will affect what operators are given to you at the end of every 2 stages. The advantage of the preferred plan is that it allows you to use some of your most powerful operators, giving you the upper hand and adds a sense of familiarity to your strategy. I always use the preferred plan because I love using my 6-star operators, and most of them are pretty well built. And the big disadvantage of the preferred plan is that you are pretty limited with your options. But since these are the most frequently used operators, as long as you know what you're doing, you don't really feel restricted. The free plan, on the other hand, gives you more flexibility. However, it becomes a problem if half of your roster is underleveled. And in my case, not all of my operators are Elite 2, and considering that these stages get progressively harder as you progress, underleveled operators are not really going to help with progressing through the floors. Not to mention that I struggle a lot with this game mode, even with my Elite 2 6-star operators, and I only managed to go as far as floor 4. SSS obviously has flaws and it's not at all perfect. Kukikaze outlined some of the problems player has with this game mode, and there are 2 major ones that I want to address. First is the sheer difficulty this game mode presents. Progressing through the floors from floor 1 to floor 8 as it gets harder is pretty normal. But dealing with a single floor that gets progressively harder as time goes on, it gets out of hand. Not only you're dealing with very strong enemies, but the volume of enemies coming at you also increases. The high difficulty kind of raises the bar of entry a little bit, requiring you to build multiple 6 stars at Elite 2. In my opinion, it's not a bad thing because this mode is for farming module upgrade materials, so it makes sense that you need Elite 2 operators with a module to access this game mode, otherwise you'll be wasting your time. However, dealing with hard stages is not as tedious as the second problem of SSS. There is no auto-deploy in this game mode. You'll have to use your brain every time you want to farm materials. This game mode is already hard as it is, and the fact that there is no auto-deploy, it makes SSS feels like a chore in the long run. There's only so many times a person can take an L before they start losing their mind because enemies start leaking through their defenses. I think that it would be a better alternative that the skip ticket for annihilation stages can also be used for SSS, considering both of these modes exist in the same tab or section. But despite how annoying SSS is, there must be a reason behind the implementation of these problems. So, why are the aforementioned issues presented in SSS? Surely, if they are truly problematic, Hypergriff would not have implemented it in the first place. According to Kuikadze from the same video, Hypergriff did this to preserve the longevity of the game.
I feel that the reason why Hypergriff is trying to do something like this is because they want to maintain the longevity of the game. If everything can be built at once with the use of money, then it's going to hurt the game in a way where people can just be like, oh, I've already completed it with the power of my cash, like my thousands of dollars.
Whether or not this reason is correct, but I do agree with his statement because I can see that this can be a problem. The difficult stages makes you think about your team composition and strategy. The lack of auto-deploy along with the limited amount of materials you can farm in a period of time discourage you from farming excessively, and even the limited number of module data block prevents you from upgrading all of your operators all at once. Without this measure put in place, Arknights would experience what happened in the early days of Genshin Impact whenever there is a new event. I was an avid Genshin player from 2020 to 2021, and whenever a new event drops, there's always a pattern that I see in the community. Players who have some of the most powerful character builds will speedrun the event in 1 or 2 days and has nothing to do for the rest of the event duration. As a result, that takes away the fun, it takes away the excitement, and overall it creates a shorter playing session. So I understand why Hypergriff doesn't want their players to start speedrunning everything, because SSS is a permanent addition to the game. You have to come back to it at some point to get materials to upgrade your operators. Obviously, I can't talk about SSS without talking about the new module upgrades brought along with the game mode. Module upgrades allows us doctors to maximize the operator's potential. Some operators benefit greatly from this update, such as Ling, who can summon up to 4 high-form dragons, which solidifies her identity as a one-woman army. I'm excited to see how this module upgrade affects other operators instead of just reading it through Game Press, and for that to happen, I need a lot of grinding. In conclusion, Stationary Security Service is not perfect. It gives me headaches, it makes me want to punch my laptop, but it does offer a unique twist to a traditional card-based video game. I like the implementation of the RNG element, it does help with spicing up the gameplay a bit, but most of the time RNG kinda hates me. The bar of entry feels quite high, but it makes sense. What would you do with these materials if you have no module to upgrade? Since SSS is a permanent game mode, there is no time pressure to complete all 16 floors. You can always come back to it whenever you want without worrying about limited time. So what do you think of Stationary Security Service? What would you change about this game mode? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next video.